Irving was born in New York City on April 3rd, 1783.
I shall name him Washington. Washington Irving dropped out of school at the age of 15. He then began to publish work in his brother's newspaper that ridiculed New York society.
Washington Irving became a lawyer at his dad's request, but became bored with the occupation. So he traveled to Europe to help his brothers run their family business.
Which way to Europe?
Washington Irving's stay in Europe influenced his writing in many ways. He began to write stories based on the folk tales of the countries he traveled to. He also wrote his most famous work, the Sketchbook, under the pen name of Geoffrey Crayon. Washington Irving spent the last 13 years of his life in his hometown near Tarrytown. He died on November 28, 1859. Washington Irving was best known for his humorous short stories and others such as Rip Van Winkle, The Devil and Tom Walker, and The Legend of Sleepy Hollow.
For our feature presentation,
The Legend of Sleepy Hollow.
Along the Hudson Bay, the town of Sleepy Hollow was anxiously awaiting the arrival of their new schoolmaster, Ichabod Crane. Ichabod was a very skinny man with legs like toothpicks, humongous ears, and a long pointy nose.
Hi, I'm Ichabod Crane, the new schoolmaster in Sleepy Hollow. What's your name?
I'm Bron Bones.
Ichabod became very friendly with the ladies of Sleepy Hollow, especially those who were good cooks. He also became their choir instructor and visited with them often.
A female deer.
Oh, ladies, that was so good. That's a wrap. Katrina, can I escort you home?
Oh yes, my Ichabod.
As Ichabod was escorting Katrina home, they ran into Bron Bones, who was deeply in love with Katrina. Let me carry those packages for you, Katrina.
Sure. Ichabod became very distracted from his teaching because Katrina was constantly on his mind. Katrina, or Catherine, what's 2 plus 2?
4?
Ichabod was becoming very superstitious around this time of year because Halloween was quickly approaching.
You're invited on Halloween night to my house. Love, Katrina. Halloween. Oh.
It's October 31st, Halloween night. Ichabod is anxiously waiting to dance with Katrina, but is dreading his ride home. Bron Bones looks on jealously as Katrina and Ichabod dance the night away. He quickly comes up with a plan to send Ichabod right out of town.
Everyone gather around. It's Halloween night, my favorite night of the year, and I'm sure everyone's heard the story of the Legend of Sleepy Hollow. Every year on Halloween, the Headless Horseman rides through the woods looking for a new head to replace his own. And he carries a pumpkin by his side to guide him through the night. So be careful on your way home tonight, and watch your back, because you never know when it may strike again.
Rode home through the woods, terrified. It is believed that he had an encounter with the Headless Horseman, but people of the town of Sleepy Hollow are still unsure as to what happened that night.
Ichabod Crane was never seen again.
Finally, Brom Bones captured the love of Katrina, and they were happily married.
And welcome back to our pageant in honor of Washington Irving and the Legend of Sleepy Hollow. We have now reached the literary device question and answer portion of our pageant. Will the first contestant please step forward? What is it called when the narrator describes Ichabod as skinny, big nose, and big ears?
Well, in my 11th grade honors English class, we learned that imagery is a good description of something, and I believe Washington Irving was trying to express imagery at this point.
Very good. Will contestant number 2 please step forward? Why is it ironic that Brom and Katrina married at the end of the story?
This is an example of irony, because early on in the story, when Brom Bones and Katrina met, Katrina ignored Brom Bones, and it seemed like she was in love with Ichabod. But by the end of the story, Brom Bones and Katrina fell in love and were happily married.
Hi, Mom and Dad. Will contestant 3 please step forward? What is an example of foreshadowing in the Legend of Sleepy Hollow?
An example of foreshadowing in the Legend of Sleepy Hollow would be when Brom Bones tells a story about the Headless Horseman and Ichabod Crane is all scared, and it foreshadows and gives hints of what's going to happen to him in the night to come. Thank you. I love you all.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back. We have come to a consensus that the winner of tonight's pageant is contestant number 3. To conclude tonight's pageant, we will now have contestant number 3 answer one final question. Why is the Legend of Sleepy Hollow a good example of romanticism?
The Legend of Sleepy Hollow is a good example of romanticism because the Romantics believe that the reason limited the individual. There can't be a reason for everything. And so people in Sleepy Hollow would have used logic to figure out what happened to Ichabod. They wouldn't be